In the
Yes, they will be able to. Oh, yes. Here. You're fine, everybody. Back, I think we'll like.
Good evening, everyone. Closer. There we go. My name is Randy Frank. My company is Randy Frank Consulting. This is my partner, Richard Brown. My other partner is Robert Slavin. He's not here tonight, but if anything happens to me, you'll meet him. But we'll all be working on the project. And my background is that I was an assistant town manager in Rocky Hill. So I worked with Newington and Weathersfield a lot. So I know the area. I'm originally from Connecticut, Norwich. And I've been assistant town manager in Rocky Hill and in Cheshire and have been a consultant now for 22.5 years. Richard Brown has been a town manager in and a city manager in Virginia, Connecticut, in New London, Rhode Island, and 2 places in Massachusetts. So we and my partner has been doing executive searches for municipalities for over 40 years and has done at least 350 town manager searches. So we have a little bit of knowledge about what town managers do. So we have spent the past 2.5 days until tonight talking to department heads and stakeholders, learning about Newington. We never do a project without learning about the community first and what you need in your community, what services you provide. So we talked to the department heads, we've talked to each of the council members. And I have my cards up here. So at any point, if you want to say something privately to me, you can email me. If you know other people that are interested in giving input, they can email me directly. That will be great. So we are here to listen. I will be taking notes because I want to remember everything you said and have the little document on here. Our process, before we get to this, our process will be this process of learning what you want. Then we create a profile that has pretty pictures about Newington and all the information about Newington. And then we advertise with ICMA, at least, International City Manager Association, and all of their groups to get a diverse group of people to apply. We also send out emails and we contact our network to tell them about the position and tell everybody about the position. So if you know of anyone, tell us, we'll call them. And then once we have that, we will create a semi-finalist list after they have completed, if they meet the qualifications based on the profile, they fill out a qualification questionnaire. And we will provide a semi-finalist list to the council search committee of the top candidates that meet the qualifications. We'll reduce the list and then we'll do interviews in person and in Zoom, and depending on whatever we decide. We'll figure that out as we go along, what the best process is. Sometimes some of the candidates are from far away, so the council decides to do Zoom interviews of everyone first, and then bring the smaller group in. So that way you don't have to spend money on travel. And that is the process. So as the questionnaire says in here, we want to know what you're looking for in a town manager. What are the positive things about Newington that we should be promoting? What are the big issues that the new manager is going to have to deal with? So whoever wants to come up first, do they take this and okay.
Put it for you.
Okay. And we will take notes. Well, no one wants to be
Always
first?
hard being the first.
No problem. He's got his list. Great.
Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Follow the process for town council public comments. Good evening, Neil Ryan, 237 Brockett Street, the heart of Newington.
You need to use the microphone. so
Oh,
we
I'm
can hear you
sorry.
back.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Neil Ryan, 237 Brockett Street, still the heart of Newington. I'd like to briefly discuss the process for hiring a new top manager, but first, I want to thank town council for conducting this search on a regional statewide basis with the hiring of this consulting firm to conduct this search. And just listening to you talk tonight, your resume is very impressive. So this is, you've done a nice job, town council, with respect to this. I want to tell you that. Now regarding what I think we need a new town manager, first and foremost, we need a town manager who's politically neutral. Someone ready, able, and willing to work with each political party in a meaningful way. I say this for the previous town manager, to me, was very clearly a partisan Republican. It's not what we need. One of our previous town managers, a man named John Salomon, who worked here for 10 years, from 2005 to 2015, he did an excellent job as far as working with both parties. Excellent job. My second point is that I know the charter was revised relative to the town manager's residency requirement. The town manager is no longer required to live in Newington. But my understanding is that this is all that is said requiring the residency. What we really need is some language included somewhere that states that the town manager should live within some proximity of the town of Newington. I don't believe we have any such language included in the charter. Now, my understanding is that in taking the job, there's a contract signed by the town manager and the town council. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, I don't know what the language is that's included in the contract, but the contract seems like the ideal document where language could be included relative to how close to Newington the town manager should live. Maybe a requirement that the town manager should live within 15 to 20 miles from the center of Newington, or should live somewhere within the first congressional district where it's that effect. Fair to include this type of language anywhere. We just open to a situation where conceivably the town manager could live in Mobile, Alabama, and he can zoom in 2 or 3 times a week, and that would be considered in accordance with the charter. To me, that's unacceptable. Lastly, with regarding specific issues for the town manager, and I think need to be addressed. I'd like to see a town manager who was a passionate supporter and advocate of our public school system and our teachers. We didn't have that with the previous town manager in this town council. I think our public education system is our greatest natural resource, and we have to support it 100%. Finally, I'd also like to see a town manager who has some vision with respect to the subject of regionalism and the potential for the consolidation of services amongst neighboring towns. Now, I'm talking consolidation of serious agencies, police, fire, public schools, etc. Consolidation well done should and could lead to lower property tax within the region. And that's all I have to say. And again, I thank you for your time.
Before someone talks, let me answer. I know there's a question on the residency, and let me explain how we're going to handle that. So having the language in your new charter saying no residency is advantageous to us to do a search, because people won't apply if they can't, because they might not be able to move, including people that live in Connecticut next door. So having this ability to have a no residency is wonderful in our process. But when we come to the council with the candidates, we will know where they're from. We will know what they're planning on doing. The example I gave to the council was, what if we find someone from Rhode Island? And that manager, man or woman, has a spouse that works in Rhode Island, and now they're going to take a job in Newington. Most likely, they're going to live halfway in between, and they will commute, and it's not that long, and they will be here. One of the things the council has also said to us is they want the new manager to be present in the community at events and at their meetings. So they won't be in Alabama on Zoom.
That's good.
So
We didn't have that for last.
right. So that's how we will deal with it. But putting a limitation of 15 miles here or in this thing, we need to know who the candidate is, what they bring to the table before we put anything into the contract. So that's how we're gonna deal with that.
I hear where you're coming from.
I just want to ask a question of you. How much experience do you have? How many times have you done this? Just so, I can understand.
Well, my partner has done it over 350 times for just town managers, never mind police chiefs, etc. I have hired police chiefs in the state. I've hired public works people. I've hired HR people. I've hired town managers. We just completed the town of Plainville. And in fact, they had the residency problem. In their charter, they had a residency requirement. And they interviewed 2 candidates. They came in, they loved both of them, but their families said, no, thank you. They didn't want to live in Plainville. And one of those candidates is now in another town. Then I asked the council, would they change the charter? And they said, absolutely, because they had a manager who had been there before for 17 years, and he came in and did interim. He worked 3 weeks in a month from Florida and 1 week in Plainville. They paid for that. Of course, this was an interim situation.
Yeah.
And nothing got dropped because he knew everybody. He had 17 years of knowing the community.
Changing the charter requires some time though.
Right, but they started it already. As soon as they got a candidate, they started the process. So, yeah. So I've done Plainville, I've done Norwich, did East Haddam a long time ago. Wyndham a long time ago. That I'm just doing the Connecticut ones. Bloomfield a long time ago. Huh? Oh, Richard and I just spent lots and lots of time in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Right. Woo! What a place. I did 3 days of learning about Newington. They had us speaking to every single person in Cambridge for a month before I could start the process. But we got a great candidate and they're very happy. So,
Second question for you.
okay.
In your experience, what are the top skills and experience that a town manager should possess?
We had a conversation with the search committee this evening, and we will put in under the qualifications, a bachelor's in public or business administration, with a master's preferred, or a combination of service. And we said 5 to 10 years of experience as in management. So that could be assistant manager, department head, city manager, whatever. It also can be other places. Cambridge hired someone that wasn't a city manager. They have to have experience in a similar kind of organization, such as a full service city. And we will determine all of that information and explain it to the candidates as well as to the council when we have the candidates' names.
Thank you.
Next person to talk?
Take that one back.
Oh, okay.
Put a new one up.
Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. Is this on?
Just line it up. It should be green.
Okay. Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. Are you the same consulting firm that was here when John Solomon left and we ended up not doing a search? You look familiar to me. I came in and I forgot all about this, but I did come in and talk to the citizens and ask them what they were looking for. But it wasn't a full search.
No,
It was-
and then it ended
I-
up that he was, the mayor decided on Tanya.
Yeah.
I just wanted to.
I just
refresh my
put
memory.
together a little report that said, this is what people said that they wanted.
Do you still have that report? And I'm just curious if what they wanted then is what they want now, and what I see here now are elected officials and maybe a handful of citizens.
Right.
Is this going to be the only meeting that you're going to have?
Well, that's why we're putting it out on the website so that people can send us things. A lot of people don't like coming to meetings and don't have the time and will email me. I got tons and tons of emails in Cambridge from people, so that's a way that we do things.
Okay.
So yeah.
I might have been talking, did you say that it's going to be on the website and I just missed that? I was gonna suggest.
We haven't put that.
We haven't put it up yet.
Yeah, but there
we
will be someplace like with the budget, they used to have a space where you could go and make comments about what you wanted to see, because there's
Well, I don't want you to put comments on the website. I want you to email me.
everything,
directly,
whatever
because
way
otherwise-
you're gonna use it, but
Yeah.
in any.
It is more private though.
There's a lot of great questions here, and quite honestly, as a resident, I'd like to know what our town council thinks are the current challenges and opportunities that currently face the town of Newington. I'd like to know what the department heads and the employees feel.
We had all those conversations.
Correct.
And we got all that information and we will be putting that into our profile.
Okay, but I mean, will it be a profile that the residents can see as well, such as an executive summary or something like that, where you've talked with the town council, these are their concerns or needs, or is it
They
just?
can identify who said what.
No, I mean, just
Right.
bullet points or
Yeah.
something like that.
If the council wants to put that out, I do a summary for them. That says, this is what people said. They wanted, economic development knowledge. They wanted infrastructure knowledge. So it's just little bullets. And then we put it into a more detailed profile that talks about what the departments do, what the town's all about, what the great things about Newington. And then what the manager's, opportunities are for the future, what are the projects coming up. The more that we can tell the candidates about the exciting things that are happening, the more we'll get candidates. If we were to say in a profile, and I'm sure there are some profiles out there that say this, but if we were to say, we want you to keep the town as it is, then certain types of people would apply for that, and certain types of people would not apply for that. If we want to tell them that they're working on a new school, and they're working on this, and they're working on that, and other people that are interested in doing those kinds of things will apply because that excites them.
Because it's my understanding that there is no formal job description for our town manager. Is that correct? Other than what may be
It's in the
indicated in
charter.
the charter,
Yeah.
which is very vague and that.
Anyone who applies for a town manager, if they don't know what a town manager does, they shouldn't be applying, but because they don't know what they're getting into. But the town charter will have that information. It basically says you'll be in charge of hiring and firing the employees. Following the policy direction and ordinances and laws that the council put in place. Producing a budget for the council to adopt. Those are the three big things, and all of that includes doing a CIP, doing infrastructure, making sure every department is operating. If anybody, more than the charter is not needed, any good candidate will look at what the charter says, and know exactly what a town manager does.
They would know, but the residents wouldn't know what the town manager is supposed to do. At some point, our previous town manager mentioned that he was our director of public safety or something like that.
It's in your charter that he is the personnel director.
Correct. And I looked at it. So what I'm saying is, in my mind, I've watched a lot of town council meetings over the last 10 or 15 years, whereas people leave their positions, they revamp their job descriptions. I've never seen a job description for the town manager. That being said, I've only been involved when Tanya Lane was hired, and then previous town manager, there was no search. But there was nothing definitive as to what we were looking for, because we ended up not going out for a search.
And that's the advantage of this profile. It will be a lot more detailed than a job description.
And
It will have a lot more information about what they're going to be doing as the manager, to be in charge of the police department, in charge of the human services department, parks and rec, highway, etc. They're gonna understand that they are making sure their department heads are doing all their jobs. They will also have access to your laws and ordinances that they have to implement. They will look at, your previous budgets and see what the numbers look like and what everything does. So, I mean, we could write a job description if the council wants us to write a job description. I've written town manager job descriptions, but it basically, the document that we're going to put out as a profile, like 8 pages. It will tell you everything you need to know about what you want the new manager to do.
But that profile will be specific to this particular position, and when that person should leave, it will not be in place. It just is for the particular tenure.
Once I'm done with it, you guys can use it anytime you want. It's yours to keep.
I'm very disappointed to see that there's not too many people here tonight because everybody, not everybody, I shouldn't say that. There's quite a few on Facebook in town that have opinions about everything, who should be, who shouldn't be. I was one of the biggest advocates for leaving the residency in. And then I said, well, maybe the residency could just be a certain area, but with the explanations that have been provided, I can understand how that could be difficult, but this is, like I say, I enjoy coming to these meetings to hear and see what people have to say or don't have to say, or the input. Now, I would have never known that you were going to require a bachelor's or master's or whatever, or experience in lieu thereof, if you didn't share it tonight. And that's was one of my big things that.
Right, and it will be definitely in the profile. And we talked to the council about that, to make sure that they were comfortable with that. They will be reading the profile before it goes out to anybody to make sure that it meets the needs of the town of Newington. Because I've done town manager searches before, and every one of my profiles looks different because every town has different emphasis.
Well, I'm glad to hear that the person that hires and fires is going to have some direction as to what they should be doing as well. Do I know any potential candidates or people who will know others we can contact that may be good candidates? Well, as one who wanted a search to be done, I still want a search to be done, but my vote goes to our acting town manager. I think he did a wonderful job as town clerk. He's always been there for me to answer questions, very knowledgeable. And with that, I won't embarrass him anymore. Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. I know a lot of you here. My name is Terry Bordison. I was recently elected as a registrar of voters.
Not on.
Hit the switch.
Well, I could always talk louder. Is that better? No?
Because it's being recorded.
Oh, okay. How's that? Perfect, better. Okay. So I was recently elected registrar of voters. I've been in town for 37 years with my wife, and we were 37 years in Harvard before that. So I know the town pretty well. We really like being here in town, and there's a lot of good participation. I want to thank you for what you're doing here, because I think the town manager position is critical. I can't say anything about how great this guy is, because that would be kind of, but we've been talking, and he knows his stuff very well. So again, we've been here a long time, and I just wanted to learn what was going on tonight, and wanted to express that anybody that needs to talk to me about anything, I certainly want to be involved. I'm a very hands-on person. I think there's a lot of good stuff that's been done. I like the people. There's really good people over here that have been town council and mayor that have done a very good job. Take care about the town, work hard. I was on the town council from 11 to 15. I was early. I ran for mayor in 17. That didn't work out very well. But I know these individuals, they work very hard. Wanted to say hi, learn what was going on. And while I'm here, does anybody have any questions? Thank you very much.
Next. Tell us what do you think the new manager is going to need to know about Newington? And what projects that you want to see happen in the town in the future? That would be helpful.
Hi, good evening. I actually think, Randy, I actually worked as mayor with you. We had you for one of our searches before, am I correct?
And,
Years ago, I wasn't getting, I was thinking of how many years of work.
in Newington? I didn't do a full search. All I did was meet with this public to get their input. It wasn't a search, it was just, open meetings.
Well, I know we have very good reputations.
Thank
As I said, I think I have worked with only Peter Curry did a few things. It's not like the official. Worked with Frank Conley, Keith Chapman, Paul Featherston, John Salomon, Tanya for a while. Our interim town manager, Marianne Dale, was our library director. And Keith Chapman again. So being a town manager is very difficult. If I was looking for one personally, say, boy, you really need somebody strong. The public people have to realize that you may be hiring a town manager, he or she from anywhere. And our town council mayor at the time is their boss. Less than 2 years from then, somebody else is going to be their boss. If you follow around in Connecticut, not everywhere, but the days of longevity in town managers. Hey, it seems to be becoming shorter and shorter. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why. All these previous town managers we've had, they all have strengths and weaknesses. They all have to deal with difficult situations, not only with elected officials, but with the public. I also think that in looking at not necessarily Newington, but in other towns, Newington's not in a unique position, but there's a town of about 30,000 people. There's a lot of town managers or assistant town managers or department heads around the country who want to become a town manager and look at, take Newington out of it, another town our size as a stepping stone to somewhere that's got 50,000 or 100,000 or 250,000 or whatever it is to gain experience. It's not always easy. You can't, if you ask somebody, you plan on staying here the rest of your life? That's not a question you can answer. I think there's a big advantage to going. I have no problem with a nationwide search, but I also think, a lot of people move from New England to the South, and somebody who's lived all their life in, I won't say Florida, it's not anything against somebody who applies there, who wants to come to New England and freeze their butt off. Is it because I love New England? I love the snow? I don't know. Is it a stepping stone? And the same thing goes when you hire somebody. It's like Forrest Gump said, you never know what you're going to get in a box of chocolates. So my preference is I would lean or put a lot more weight in a regional, somewhere in the region area for somebody. I think that may play a part. I think Newington overall has had great employees, phenomenal employees. There's always a few that might not be totally up to par, but for the most part that I've seen over all these years, the employees that work for Newington treat Newington like it's their own, not because they live here or just work here, but they have their heart in it. Newington's a great place to live, which pretty much everybody has agreed. I was disappointed back when our library director, I thought she would have been phenomenal. Talk about knowing the town after all the years experience. She was compassionate, knowledgeable. She wasn't afraid to say, I don't know the answer to that question, but I will find out and I will get back to you. I also think it's a good thing whether, let's say we're sitting here looking at our police chief. I think lots of times there's good candidates right where you are, And when you don't give those good candidates, thinking that somehow you're going to get a gain of advantage from getting somebody from somewhere else, it doesn't give the people in the town or employees a chance to move up, to use that length and breadth of knowledge that they've gained working here. You know, they have a chance to take a shot at the apple, and you can tell when somebody's an earnest, really good employee. So I think that's an advantage. And I said they have to be strong. Like I said, you're gonna councils, mayors, elected officials, commissions come and go. And the town manager, he or she has to be able to withstand the buffeting that they will have to endure when they're, here. So I think it would be better. Anybody's happy here in Newington. I just don't want to see it being a stepping stone to a larger place. And I'm a big proponent of looking within when you can.
To answer that question about a stepping stone, if you were a town of 10,000, that might be more of a problem, but a town in Connecticut of 30,000 with the full services you have, not necessarily. But we do talk to the candidates about what they're looking for and why they're looking. And if they tell us, that this is what they're looking for, and I say, well, that's not what Newington is, we just tell them it's not a good match for you. We won't put them on the list. And we do ask, we can't ask them how long they'll stay, but we do ask them, you're looking for 5-10 years, what are you looking at for this position? Because as you said, you don't want a 2-year manager. You want someone to stay and get things done. Go up to the.
I have to go up to the mic.
Yes, because it's being recorded.
Press the button.
Yeah, slide up.
Hi, my name is Joyce Swanson and I'm a resident here in Newington. And I'm wondering if it has ever been resolved about whether or not the town manager has to live in Newington. I feel that a town manager should live in town because that way they would be more in tune with the town's needs.
Your charter was changed and it does not have a residency requirement, and you missed my conversation about that, so I will repeat the information about this is the good thing, because we don't get as many candidates if there's a residency requirement. A great example was we just did the town of Plainville. We had 2 great candidates. They decided they weren't interested in living in Plainville. The council changed the requirement about residency, and we got instantly 3 candidates from Connecticut that applied. And all 3 were wonderful, and the council couldn't decide. We had to discuss back and forth until they made a decision on the top candidate. But they can't do the job without being here. And everyone has told us that they want the manager to be in their office, to be out and about in the community, talking to people, coming to events, and that will be in the profile that we do. So you can't do that. Someone mentioned Alabama. Can't do that from Alabama. You have to be close enough that you can commute to be able to be here. And most people, you talked about people coming back to New England. I love that. We get people from all over who want to come back to New England. The reasons are, number 1, they grew up here. Number 2, they have parents that they need to take care of here, or their children are here and they want to see their grandchildren, or, they just want to be back in an area that has 4 seasons. They might not like the place that they were living before and say, oh, we need to get back to New England. And the advantage of New England is you can live in Connecticut and still see your family in New Hampshire very easily. So we get people from all over that do want to come back to New England. But they know that they have to figure out where to live and drive. And as you know, the market is pretty tight, so it depends on what's open.
So basically you want somebody that lives in Connecticut.
They don't have to live in Connecticut when they apply. But, for example, we were talking about someone might live in Rhode Island and their spouse works in Rhode Island and they're now looking at Newington. So they'll probably live halfway between, so both would commute either way. My husband and I both were in public service and we had to do that ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
Just talk loud, but I know it's being recorded. I just want to give you a little experience. Oh, yeah.
No. Push up.
Here we are. I just want to give you a little experience that I had when I was the majority leader. Make a decision on who chief, and the question came up about residency and everything else. And we decided that we would take a look and see out there and who would be interested in town. And Chief Clark had been a lieutenant in this town, and he got promoted and he went to Vernon. And when we brought in a new chief, he ran and he was selected by everyone. He's a wonderful chief. I mean, he has all the experience in the world and he's done an excellent job. Well, if we had made it a requirement, a residency requirement, he was not living there at the time, and we would have not gotten Chief Clark. I think we have to be very careful in terms of residency requirement. We certainly don't want somebody coming in, a million miles away, but if they're living here or they're very close, be out here every day and talking to everybody and live close so that they understand what you read in the paper, because that, but there's reality and there's other things. Fortunately, we have good people like Mark and Paul over there. Very okay. Okay. So, and I'll stop talking. Thank you.
And we have people that have not spoken yet. Please, the gentleman in red, do you want to add anything?
No, thanks.
Okay. The lady back there with the. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
My name is Erin Beatrice, 158 Harvard Avenue, and I'm very proud to be part of this community. I think we have a wonderful community. I've lived here for a very, very long time, raised my children here, and we chose Newington because Newington, especially for families, have wonderful schools, parks, libraries, the types of things that make a community a place you want to continue to be even after the kids have grown, wonderful senior center and programs, etc. One of the things I'm very, very concerned about in terms of the county manager position is making sure we bring someone in who's on the one hand committed to still providing a certain level of service that we've come to expect from our community and the people who work in our community. It's important to me that we have town leadership that supports our employees, our union employees in particular, and is also supportive of a diverse workforce. Our community is changing, and I'm very, very interested in making sure that we have people in leadership positions who recognize that the community makes us stronger, and our town employees need to be reflective of those of us who live here, not just in the town departments, but also in our school system. Our kids deserve the best, and our kids deserve to be in a school with staff that supports them in all of their different interests, abilities, and so forth. And I want to make sure that that comes from the top and trickles down to people at the ground level, if you will. So someone who supports diversity, who recognizes that our community is changing and takes appropriate steps to bring people on who also believe in those same values. Another thing that's very important to me is economic development. We have a lot of empty space in our community, prime space that developed properly will lead new people to move our community. We have a lot to offer, and we're geographically in a spot that works well for many different types of businesses. And it's always something that, we all drive by in San Francisco and things like that. It's very, very important that we build those spots with businesses that are gonna bring people in, but also have people that stay here and our community can continue to grow with that. So those are the types of things that are important to me when we're talking about somebody, especially someone who's not from the area. Those of us from this area, we know what Newington is, we know what our community brings. But if we're recruiting from outside of the area, we need to do a really, really good job of communicating to them, not just that this is an important position, but why it means so much to all of us, and we're looking for someone who shares that same vision. Thank you.
Well, the gentleman in the, did you want to say anything? The lady with the red shirt over there, did you want to say anything? Sounds like it's on.
Hello there. Okay, well, this certainly has taught me that I need to wear my hearing aids because I have had one heck of a time hearing people and understanding them tonight. Which leads me to why we're here. I mean, why are we at the senior center town hall where we have systems in place? I'm just wondering about that. That's what I thought last night. Anyway, I think one of the things, some of the things that people have said tonight have been really very thought provoking and are worthy of definite consideration. One of the things, two of the things that I think of is development of Newington. We do have the space, people have left, but it needs to be planned. If I may offer a personal opinion about what's happened to Fenn Road, I think it looks bloody awful. And I think that it's like a monopoly game where you get little houses and you put them there and you try and do as much as you can without really thinking. The other thing I think of is we have an outstanding senior center and things for senior citizens. But one of the things, having turned 80 this past September, I am reaching the point where most of my friends are getting closer to me now than I like to think, of being able to stay in Newington and housing. Of the availability of affordable housing for seniors. I don't know what it is now. Families moving in with school age children. I think for me, when we first moved here, it was a diverse stratosphere of children, middle-aged seniors type of a thing. And I think I like that about Newington, and I'd like to see it like that. I don't want to see it to be a community of just people aging. But I think that there are many of us that would like to stay here. We have our roots here, friends here, and the services are absolutely amazing. And also being somebody who is poverty of skills when it comes to computers. I have found it very difficult in the past to navigate the town site. And at times my way of dealing with it was to plan how I was going to throw the computer across the room. So for me, that profile that you were talking about, my telephone number is on paper. So if somebody could give me a call and let me know that I can come in and pay for a paper copy of that, I would really appreciate it.
We'll have the town hall make copies that you can come get.
Bless you. And I feel like I'm in deja vu because I was here the last time you were here, and I'm assuming that a search will take place and not.
They're paying us for a full search. They just asked me to come be the outside person asking questions because they needed an outside person. And I forgot completely about it until I went into my computer and saw town manager search in Newington.
You did.
And
But
there
you-
was some,
but you didn't have to search.
I didn't do it.
I know,
It wasn't
and
a-
that's what I just,
Yeah, it was not a search, it was just a open forum. And I don't remember how many different people I talked to, but I wrote up a report and that was it.
well, thank you for coming back, giving us a second shot, and take care. Yeah, right? There we go.
Okay.
There.
You said you wanted to.
Yeah. Hi, Joyce Swanson from Williamstown, Newington. Another thing that I would like to see is in a town manager is somebody that is bipartisan. Not with an aggressive political, ambition. And from what I understand, this is an appointed position and, in the past, there seems to have been problems with people taking sides in the town offices. And so I would definitely like to see somebody that will be an advocate for all the people, not just the ones that they would benefit from.
Bridget reminded me, ICMA is the International City Managers Association, and their code of ethics requires that you be nonpartisan. We'll be looking for people that do that. Anybody else?
Mine's 46 Elton Drive. As I'm sitting here listening to what people are saying, I'm hearing the same things that I've heard previously, but one thing I didn't hear mentioned, and I think it's something important for the town. We all want development. We want our taxes to stay the same or go down or whatever. But I think we'd also like to see some more open space be taken care of. Even our parks are starting to have these exercise equipment and this and that and everything put into the parks. And one thing that I find that I don't like seeing is when I pull up to the town hall and I see an encaged area where there's a bunch of kids' toys. I get it that they have a child's daycare area there, stuff like that. But I'd like to see the parks look like parks. And I think that the idea of making it more pedestrian friendly and more bicycle friendly, we're trying to work on that, but from listening to some things at the town council meeting last night, some of the projects that have gotten started, there's some problems with them as well. I think I'd like to see everybody look at the projects in town overall, not just look at the one building that's going at 550 Cedar Street or the one that's going at the top of the mountain. There's problems. We have a lot of state highways areas here. I'd like to see some kind of a liaison between the town, and I think there was a police officer or lieutenant or something between them and the DOT. It's very difficult to try and communicate to the DOT the problems that residents have with the streets. I tried on Cedar Street when they wanted public input, and probably, probably one voice crying out, but there's with hundreds that are saying it behind, not publicly, but they're saying it. I just think that there needs to be some coordination and there has to be some mutual workings between the town and the DOT. And last but not least, and I think this happens in a lot of towns, is the problems at budget time between the Board of Education and the town council. I'd like to see transparency. I'd like to see the two bodies come together at times when there's issues that need to be discussed. Here in town, we've had a couple of issues that it's a he said, she said, they said, and the public doesn't know what went on. And I think it needs to be more open and transparent between the two bodies. Thank you very much for your time.
Anyone else?
Pandora's box. I'd like to echo what Rose just mentioned about the open space. I know that Newington, at least at one point, I think it was down to 8% left or something like that. It was pretty sad. And to take care of that, to treasure that. And I do agree about the Board of Education and the council. I was talking to a friend the other day, and it is one of the saddest things for me to see the acrimony actually that I have seen over the years. I have not been as involved the last several years, but animosity and it's our education system is so important. And to see the adults fighting like we have done in the past, it makes me very sad. So then I would like to really see both organizations work together and I think respect each other. Okay, not that individuals don't respect, it's not that, but it becomes very contentious and sad. Thank you.
Gentleman in the back, you,
All right, listen, big.
well, everybody's talked. You're the last person if there's. Okay, my cards are up here. If you want to email me privately, anybody can do that. If you have friends that want to do that, feel free to do that also. And we'll put that on the website so anyone can email their thoughts. Because it takes us a little while to take all this information and put it into a profile. Okay, those who are you watching, if you want to send me an email, again, my name is Randy Frank. My email is Randy, R-A-N-D-I, at randyfrank.com, RANDIFRANK.com. So very easy. You remember Randy Frank with an I. So anyone who wants to send an email, employees, people that live here, businesses, citizens, anyone can send us an email. We usually get a lot of those because some people are not comfortable speaking in public.